Hi, I'm Stephanie with the Women's Empowerment Network, and I am here with our special guest today. I am here with boxer and trainer Jessica McFadden. Jess, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, this is great. I'm glad we have this chance to talk. Let me make sure my phone is shut off here so we're not disturbed. All right, here we go. So let's start with the most recent thing first. So you recently had a pretty big pivot in your life, and that's something I'm always interested to talk to people about, as I have had several.
Yeah.
So you were a special education teacher,
Yes.
and you are now working as a trainer. So can you talk to us a little bit about, your teaching background and making that
Yeah.
decision and what that looked like?
Yeah, of course. So I went to school as a special education teacher, and I came out with a music degree and a special education degree. So I was all over the place in school, and then I started teaching right off the gate. I loved teaching. I've always thought that I wanted to do that. That was something that I've been super passionate about um, ever since I was little. And honestly, like even in high school, working with students with special needs, I was just like, this is what I'm going to do. This is awesome. This is so exciting. Um, I bounced around a lot from place to place. I ended up working in like several different schools over my 8-year career as a teacher. I ended up moving to a different country. I lived in Costa Rica for a little while to teach down there. I was like, maybe somewhere else is going to be better. And I loved working down there. I truly, I still do love teaching, and I worked at another location for 4 years. That was my longest stretch as an educator. And toward the end of my teaching career, I had to really ask myself, is this still making me as happy as I thought it did? And I came to the realization that I was not happy. I was trying to make like the old me happy, or like I wanted it so bad. I wanted to be a teacher so bad. I wanted to do this for so long, and I couldn't see myself doing anything else, and I was like, I don't what am I going to do? And I had been a boxing trainer like outside, just like on the side for so long, that I was like, well, I've always really enjoyed this part. I've always really enjoyed teaching people how to get healthy and how to be physically active. Um, and I decided I got an opportunity. It all came in like kind of a blur. I got an opportunity to work at this place called Skill of Strength. And I am currently there as a fitness and strength coach there. And I am really, really happy with my transition. um, it was really hard. It was hard though. It was really hard to make that change because I was comfortable. Um, but
Yes.
yeah. And
Comfort can be a big trap.
yeah, and that's the thing. I was like, it's scary because personal training, you never really know what you're going to get. But I just knew that I was going to learn a lot at this location. So that was my biggest thing, that I was like, I still love to learn and I still want to teach people something, but I want to teach something that I'm super passionate about, and also still have my mental health intact at the end of the day.
Yes.
So, yes. So that was like the biggest part for me. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, teaching for 8 years. When I say it, I can't believe it.
Mhm.
Wow, that's a really long time. So
Now here's my question, do you miss it?
there
It's
are
okay to
moments
say no.
I know there are moments that I miss, but those moments weren't there for me in the last few years, or they were
Mhm.
harder for me to find. I loved watching my students like grow and become like if they understood something, or they were able to take a break, like verbally asked to take a break, and all these other little things that I found to be really exciting. And then toward the end, I had a really rough go of it the last few years, and it was just I wasn't finding it as much, and um, it just got to be a lot on my mental health at that point. And I was like, I'm just not happy anymore. Um,
Mhm.
I knew something else was going to make me happier. And I won't say that, and will never say that I won't go back, because
Mhm.
you never know. Things could change, but I think a lot has to change for things to work with, like, I mean, I won't go into all of it, but with the education system itself, I mean, my school was great. I loved it. I will never, like, I would go back if I could, because I had a very supportive team there. Um, but there needs to be a lot of change in the school system before I can even.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think I intentionally put you on the spot with that question, Jess, about that, do you miss it?
Yeah.
Because I feel like as women that there's a pressure on us that, men don't have on. I mean, there are lots of pressure differences, right? But one
Yep.
of them is sort of that idea that it says something about you as a woman if you were to say, "No, I don't miss it." That means something, that we're supposed to be these creatures with unlimited empathy and love and
Yeah.
compassion, right? And,
Yep.
to ask a male to say, "Do you miss it?" and he would say, "No," and that would be accepted, but for a
Yeah.
woman to say no, it would be like, "Oh, wasn't it
Well,
rewarding? But what didn't you feel like you're making a difference?"
and that's the thing that I can't, um so as a teacher, like, we have to go through, like, so many things, right? There's the mental battle every day that you have to go into work and do all these tasks that are not expected of any other career, in my personal opinion. Like, you're
Mhm,
asked to communicate with parents, you have to go with the administrator, you have to make sure that your students have like, all of the right tools in order for them to reach their goals. And you also have to follow the curriculum that's given by the state. And it's all of these things that are required of you as an educator, which is okay. But even as I'm saying it, it's not okay. Like, I'm
mhm,
going in there, and it's becoming to the point of, like, I was risking my physical safety as well as,
yeah,
like, and that's not just in the field that I was working in. Like, I knew what I was signing up for. Like, I but even as, like, a public educator now, you're still working to even be physically safe, and also
mhm,
the
mhm,
emotional and mental drain on you. And I find, like, people are always like, "Well, don't you miss the kids?" And I'm like, "Well, of course I miss the kids," but I'm like, "That's not enough for me to stay. That's not enough for me to
yes,
be happy." Like, I mean
and that's
would you stay at a
okay,
job for a coworker? Probably not. Like, I'm not gonna
right,
stay at a job for my students that I truly care about, but that's not a
mhm,
fair thing to ask somebody. Like,
yes,
"Well, what about the kids?" And it's like, "Okay, well, what about me? Like,
right,
what do I need for me to be happy?" So,
mhm,
and that's the hardest part about being a teacher, in my personal opinion. I was like, I have no idea. Like, I couldn't see myself not teaching kids, but because I wanted to be there for the kids so badly,
mhm,
but I can't be the hero. I could not be the
right,
hero.
right. It's
Yeah.
just, it's interesting when you look at it because those are questions that either wouldn't be asked of men, or if they
Yep.
were, the answer would be accepted, there wouldn't be a follow-up. There wouldn't be a, "But
Yeah.
don't you miss the kid?" That sort
Yeah.
of guilt tripping that as women that we have to that's sort of just this,
Yeah.
just reactionary thing in people that they think that we're supposed to be just, here
Like, "Oh, I
for
miss
the
everything." Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, no, I don't
Yeah.
miss, having my butt kicked, no, I don't
Right.
miss, being,
Yeah.
you know
Yes.
I mean, I happen to know some of the things that happened, but, no, I don't miss having objects
Yeah.
thrown at me. No, I don't miss,
Right.
I
Exactly.
don't
And
miss
it's
being
like,
screamed at. No, I don't miss, for, having known you and known the situation, I think there's like a point where it's like, I wanna have a day where I'm feeling respected, throughout the entire
yes.
day. And not that
Yeah.
that's a fair thing because it's not about that being disrespected, but it's a feeling safe, feeling respected,
Yeah.
feeling whole.
Yep.
That
Yep.
those are things that people don't think about when it comes to teachers.
Yep.
And, when you look at the
Yeah.
profession, um,
Yeah.
why is it so many women?
I know,
I
and that's
mean,
a
this
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's
we
crazy
know what
because
the
even,
answer is, but,
yeah, it was very, yeah.
the men wouldn't put up
So,
with it.
I know, exactly, and I worked with some like, I think I've worked with, like, 2 or 3 male staff,
Yeah.
like, and,
Most men
like
wouldn't.
yeah. Yeah, it takes a special people always say it takes a special kind of person. I'm like, "Well, it shouldn't be this real huge, um, crazy person that wants to go into teaching. It should just be, like, somebody that wants to educate the future, and it
Right.
should just be just as simple as that." Like,
Yes.
there's just too many demands in that field, and it was getting
Mhm.
to be a lot. And my administrator and I don't was great. She was always really good about, like, us taking, like, mental health day like, taking time for ourselves and stuff like that, but there comes a point where it's not just my administration, it becomes, like, the whole entire piece, like, I can
Right, right.
only my staff and my support can only do so much, like, there I fell out of love with it a while ago, and that was
Yeah.
when yeah,
I
so
think as women, it's an interesting point that you made when you said that you were maybe doing it for the older version or like younger version, past version of yourself.
yep, yep,
That, we get these ideas and we think that we want these things and they do serve us and suit us for a period of time. Um,
yes,
but I think there's also a lot of, again, this sort of like unspoken pressure of you made your choice, now you need to live with it forever, where that is not the
exactly.
society we're living in anymore. People don't have
No,
careers that are like 50 years and retire from the same company they worked for from the time they were out of
and
school.
yeah,
And I think that needs to be normalized. I think it's just not normalized that it's like people change their mind and they can shift
exactly,
and people have, a multiple different passions and a multitude of different areas of interest and expertise and
yep,
proficiency that you can take.
yep.
So with that being said, what do you feel like what is it that your teaching experiences taught you about working as a boxing trainer? What are the things that you were able to apply that you already knew?
So, it's interesting because I'm still a teacher, right? So, I
Right.
still am teaching like, I'm just teaching a different subject. I'm
Mhm.
teaching a subject that I'm more passionate about. So, I'm currently not actually, like, doing a whole lot of boxing training. I, just had surgery on my shoulder and stuff like that, so that's kind of been, off to the side. So as a strength and conditioning coach, like that's been kind of my main focus here. I have truly enjoyed um, like working with people and I'm able to break things down like in the same way that I would as an educator because I was a special education teacher and like I can break things
Mhm.
down for people and I have many different ways of communicating to people. If somebody doesn't understand one way of something that I say, then either I have something that might work better or even one of my coworkers is like, "Oh, why don't you try it to say it this way so that this person can maybe understand it better?" Because the
Mm.
body moves in so many different ways, right? So when we're teaching one thing in particular, somebody might not get a cue that I have, but if I just
Mhm.
change the wording in some way, then that person might get the cue. So I have all these toolboxes that I have this toolbox of like communication and breaking things down so that people can understand what they're doing and how their body's moving a little bit better. So
Mhm.
um, so that's I don't know if I fully answered that question, but
Yeah,
but I think
definitely.
the communication part for me has been the biggest help for me transitioning from the teaching career that I had to this training career because it's just broken down functional fitness, which is or functional
Right.
lifting and functional strength. So it's really great to have that skill even anywhere you go. Like as a teacher, like I could go somewhere else and I could be like, I have great communication skills because I had to communicate with everybody. I had to
Mhm.
communicate to sixth graders that didn't understand what I was saying. I had to communicate to the administrators, to parents, to my
Mhm.
staff. Like you just have to have good communication skills to be a teacher. And I think that's pretty valuable anywhere, but
Transferable.
it's very transferable. So it's been easily transferable here just in relating to people and having like a relationship with people and connecting with people. I think it's a huge part of their fitness journey. Being able to connect with somebody on like a mental and emotional level is so huge for somebody because it's such a personal journey
Mhm.
for people to entrust you with
Oh,
their
yeah.
well-being. Yeah. So that also has been super helpful moving into this. career
Mhm.
as well.
So you're doing more, fitness training right now?
Yeah, so eventually I
Yep.
do wanna start, like, a boxing program and such, but I physically able to do that right now. But,
Right.
uh, hopefully sooner rather than later. Yeah, I'm focusing mainly on, functional, like, strength training and, just working, with conditioning, and I'm learning a lot too. It's like there's so many things out there. Um, and so that's my main focus right now is like strength training because I'm able to do that with only 3 limbs. So
And where is the facility that you're working out of?
so I'm working out of Skill of Strength in North Chelmsford. It's a great facility. I actually I trained here first. I know we haven't gotten into it
Mhm.
yet, but as a fighter, I was like looking to develop more of a strength training base because I didn't have any and I didn't know what to do. So I was told to come to this gym because the owner here works really well with fighters, and I've learned so much at being somebody that had trained here and now being a coach here. It's pretty great to see how the skills like develop over time. So
Mhm.
it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
That's great.
So I
So
love
let's
it. I love
talk.
it here. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's talk about your boxing journey since we're on the subject. So let's talk a little bit about that. How did you get started? When did you decide? When was I think for most, especially women, right?
Mhm.
There's this turning point where it's like, nah, I think I might want to do more than just fitness boxing. So how did that look for you?
Yeah. So I started boxing when I was like the fitness style boxing when I was like 21, I think.
Mhm.
Just to let out a little aggression. um, and then there was like a point in time where I was like, you know what? I really actually want to go to like a real boxing gym. I don't want to go to this big box, like kickboxing boxing gym. So let me try it out. So I was told to go to this one gym in Woburn. And I went in there and I don't know why I fell in love. I like laugh at myself to this day because if I had I didn't know what I was going to walk into, one, and two, I was like, it was like the true boxing gym. It smelled like I was like it, it was dirty, but it was like also clean. But the guy that ran it was like very nice. But I like walked in there and I was like, this is pretty cool. And then I was like, I think I can do this. And then I went in and then I was told to just get in there and do the workout with some of the other boxers that were in there. Um, I don't know why I didn't stop then because I was like, wow, this is too many push-ups for me.
Mhm.
I just continued and then when I sparred, I remember coming home and telling my mother that I had sparred and she's like, well, what's that? And she couldn't believe that I had gotten hit in the face and then hit somebody back because as a child, none of that was ever even a question for me. I was like, I'm gonna do musical theater and I'm gonna do ballet and horseback riding and like I'm not a
Mhm.
competitor. Like I ran track, like I would be like, yeah, you can go, you can pass me. Like I was not a competitive person. So the fact that I was trying to be competitive and also trying to like I'm trying to hit somebody, right, as a boxer. So I'm
Mhm.
like, my mother couldn't believe it. And neither could I, to be completely honest with you. I was like, I can't believe I actually one didn't cry when I got hit, and then two, I couldn't believe that I could actually do that. And that was like super empowering for me because I was like,
Yes.
I can do something that I didn't think I was going to do because I was going through like a little bit of a weight loss journey at the time too, and I feel like that's always the thing, but I really needed it for my mental health. At that time, I was really struggling. I had had a lot going on, um, and I fell in love with it. And my coach was like, "Do you want to do the gloves?" And I was like, I don't know what that is, but sure, why not?"
Mhm.
And then I did the gloves, and I won the gloves that year. And I was like, that was a big moment too because I was like, wow, I didn't know that I could actually go in there and do something. And then I've never won anything in my life before. So I was like, well, this is pretty
Mhm.
exciting. I got hooked. And like, that's kind of
Yes.
kind of how it all began. And it's such a great community too. I've met so many people that I've truly like love along the way. So, I mean, my fiance, Julian, he's been in my corner for quite a long time now. And my coach now, he, yeah, I'm going to get all mushy, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Julian's been my rock. And,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have met him if it wasn't for boxing. So,
Those of you that don't know,
yeah.
Jess's fiance, Julian Baptiste, is a professional fighter.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about what you feel like the mental health aspects are, the benefits, because I hear this all the time and I believe it myself, but I've
Yeah.
had conversations with women who are like, I don't understand. How does that work? Like, how is that helpful beyond the obvious things of like, oh, just getting out your aggression? Because that's kind of like commonly what you hear.
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly what I just said too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I how much am I allowed to share on here? I don't know how much, like,
Whatever.
okay. So I'll just it's people that know me kind of already know, but I struggle with anxiety and panic disorder. So I've always been trying to find a way to relieve stress. So,
Mm,
and there are ways that I've done it that are healthy, and then there are ways that I have done it I'm like, it's not as healthy. And for me, boxing was my way in to finding this healthy way to let out this energy that I couldn't seem to get out of my body. Like I
mhm,
could not, like moments that I can't breathe, like the moments that I can't like talk, or that I can't do anything, like I'm able to at least relieve some of that anxiety and panic and this irrational fear that I have onto a bag, or onto
mhm,
mitts or something like that. I'm still able to, when I'm able to, I'm physically able to do that. But that was such a huge thing for me because like I feel like there was so many things that weren't working for me. There was just so many
mm,
things that I was like, I've tried this, I've tried that, I was like, I don't know. I don't have any, I didn't have any energy left. I was like, I don't know what to do. And I will say, um, I think now the changing career has helped my mental health a little bit too. But
mhm,
I don't exactly know I know that it releases endorphins, it gets out aggression and stuff, but there's just something so freeing about finding something that you're passionate about and then being able to like, and that being an escape for me, because I'm
mhm.
able to just think about one thing. I need to focus on one punch, two punches, three punches.
Right.
That's all I can focus on. And that's the same thing as like for me, just like holding an ice cube or snapping a rubber band, or like trying to find like a bunch of different things on the wall for me to like think about, like, okay, I have that picture here, like trying to reground myself. But for me, if I'm
Yes.
able to box, regrounding myself just by hitting the bag, or tell my coach telling me, okay, we're going to go do this next. I
Mhm,
find that that's super helpful for me.
mhm.
Cause that's all I'm focused on at that moment.
Yeah, the
Or
definitely the grounding aspects, that's
yeah,
a great point. It's a great
yeah,
point. I think it's that. I think that's a big part of it. I've used that explanation, the grounding. Um,
yeah,
and then also, you brought up fear is another great point because a lot of it, boxing, I have a little theory about this. So I think that, boxing helps you manage your irrational fear because it teaches you
yeah,
how to manage rational fear, right? Because like if you get in
yeah,
the ring and you're not at least a little bit afraid, and I don't mean cowering, terrified in the corner, but like not
right.
like some conscious, there's something wrong with you.
Yep.
Like that's normal. So I
Yes.
think like,
Yes.
rational fear, you're like, oh, okay, this is normal. It's inside you, and now you
Yeah.
manage that, and it helps you by managing that, like learn how to manage rational fear. Now you can come in contact with the irrational fear and manage that as well. It's like almost like serves almost like as a bridge.
Yes, I completely agree, and that's part of it too. Like I feel like for me, like it's not that I need to create my own fear, because God knows I have enough irrational ones, but I think for me, it's like really trying to like think about, okay, okay, this is where I'm at now. And like, if I think about any of those irrational fears that I have outside, this person's
Mhm.
going to get the best of me in the ring, and I'm not going to do so hot. So
Right,
I
right.
know you helped me through my last fight, and I with some of those with some strategies as well, just trying to get into the ring, because that's always been the mental part for me has always been an issue. But that's for me, like being able to step in there in and of itself, for me, that's a huge
Mhm.
that's actually very empowering for me to be able to step into the ring and just be like, okay, I'm going to do this today. I'm going to get in there and I'm going to, I guess, box another human being or fight another
Yeah,
human being, right? That's because I never thought I could do it. And
right. Well, it's symbolic,
yeah, it is.
right? In a lot of ways.
And knowing that that something could hurt me in there,
Mhm.
all these other things that I'm thinking about that are so far fetched. Like I
Mhm.
can't. I'm like, why am I even thinking about this? There's no reason to think about it. I can at least escape from those for a while and just think about, and then it helps me outside as well, so that I'm not
Mhm.
cowering in fear at my place of work all the time, because I really struggled
That's
with
a
that
great
for a while. Yeah.
yeah. It's a great example, and I think that, again, like, people that maybe don't know, will go to the obvious of like, oh, because it feels better to hit people, where
Yeah.
most of the time that the hitting people is just an inconsequential side effect. It's not really the
Yeah.
purpose. It's a goal.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm not getting in there because I want to hit people. That's
Right.
just one of the things that happens. Um,
Yep.
where it's like, oh, it's so just so you can hit people, or and not looking at like you said, like the idea of just that stepping into, right, stepping into the ring and saying like,
Yep.
I'm here, I'm present, I'm going to take up some space now and
Yep.
make some shit
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
I might punch
And
someone in the face along the way or get punched in the face along the way, and whatever happens,
yeah,
happens, but I'm showing up for it, and I'm showing up for myself.
exactly. And that's I forgot what I was gonna say, but that's most of the battle right there, is stepping into the ropes and just
Mm,
I there's no feeling like it.
yes.
And for me, like as I said earlier, when my mother was shocked that I can even do this, I'm still shocked that I can do it, but
Mhm,
I don't want to say that I'm not competitive, because I am. I'm very competitive, and I didn't realize this about myself until like very recently. But I also like, I don't really think about hitting people in the ring, because I'm like,
mhm,
like you said, it's gonna happen, but it's more of an art form for me, and
mm,
uh, boxing's an art. So for me, it's like I did musical theater all my life, and like I was a music major. So not to be weird, but the two kind of go hand in hand a little bit, like the
absolutely, that's not
rhythm,
weird at
like
all.
yeah, I just find that I I cannot make it as a musical theater person on
Mhm,
Broadway or anything. So, hey, boxing's the next thing.
mhm,
I'm kidding. But no, but in all seriousness, I relate the two so much, because music used to be my stress relief, and once, not that it was taken away from me, but like it's harder to like get access to like being in like a musical theater, or I don't take piano lessons anymore like I did as a kid. So like
right.
that piece had to be replaced with something, and I was luckily able to find boxing, and that kind of took that place almost, which
Mm.
kind of weird. But
Now you said you
um
did track growing up. Did you play any team sports? I'm always curious about this.
um so I no. Let's see. What did I do growing up? I did a lot of sports growing up, not the ones that people would expect, but I did soccer as a small child, and
Mhm,
then t-ball, but I don't think I actually played much.
mhm.
Um, it's a lot of staring at grass in the field.
Mm,
And yeah, I don't think I played. No, I really didn't. I tried a lot of things, but I never really stuck with anything.
yeah.
So when I
I
went
always find
to
that interesting, just the
yeah,
because boxing is a very it's a solitary sport.
yeah,
You're
and
not
like
there's no team, and I'm always curious
yeah,
about that, if that's one of the things that attracts people to it because
Oh,
there's
yeah.
such an obvious high level of self-sufficiency that you need to have that, you're really I think boxing compared to team sports, like, you're proving it to yourself so much more, right, than
Yeah.
you are in a
Yeah.
team environment. That's why I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I literally did uh, track and cross country growing up, and that was it. That was it. I was,
Mhm.
like, all by myself. I was like, "Let's run
Mhm.
through the woods and run on the track and see what happens."
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, that's the thing about boxing. They always say it's, like, the loneliest sport, but, I mean, I've met great people along the way, and obviously it's such a great community and stuff, but, as a boxer, you do find that it's, like, you don't realize it until you step in the ring that you're the only one stepping in there. Um,
Mhm.
and and it's cool because like if you do really like when you do really well, it's or you do something that you're like, "Oh, I can't believe I actually did that." Um,
Mhm.
it's it's super empowering because it's like you're the only one that did that in there.
Right.
There's nobody else like moving your arms for you and moving your legs for you. It's like, oh, like
Mhm.
that was all me. I mean, I had my coaches help me like earlier, but that was all me right then.
But that was
So
all you. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, coaches definitely play a big part in it, and I won't take that away
Oh,
from
of
them.
course.
But I mean, it is you stepping in there by yourself.
Yes.
So yeah, um,
So, I have a couple of questions I like to ask everybody. So, my
yeah,
first question is, if you could go back in time, and find the younger Jess, now knowing what you know with, you've transitioned to a new career, you've learned a fair bit of life lessons. Is there anything that you would tell her or advise her or make her aware of before she sets out on this journey?
um, I'd probably tell her that everything was going to be okay.
Yeah.
Um, because even though things don't work out the way that they planned, it's like
Mhm.
that's kind of the beauty in this. Yeah, yeah, I because earlier on in life I would have said that change is bad or that change or being uncomfortable is bad, but the
Mm.
uncomfortable is where I've grown the most in my life at this point, up until this
Yes.
point, and I've really learned to like live. I don't like to live in the uncomfortable state, but I've learned that I've grown more in those uncomfortable moments than I have ever had when I'm sitting comfy and pretty and where I've been at in the past.
Mhm.
So I would just tell her that
That's
it's all
great.
going to be okay, and just to let those uncomfortable moments just live, live there.
Just
Yeah,
be, yeah. Great
yeah, just
answer.
be. Yeah, yeah. So that's what I.
So my second question of the 2 that I like to ask everyone is, so for someone, for a woman, boxing is somewhat unconventional still. There's not a ton
Yep.
of women out there that are, like, eager to get punched in the face. So, whether it be boxing or doing, a career transition, these are big, big things, right, that
Yep.
you're doing. Um, what do you think is inside you that allows for the pursuit of goals that are outside the norm or, kind of not the same as all your peers? Did you feel like there's something inside you that drives you to do that? And can you identify it? And there's no right, obviously, no right or wrong answer, and if
Yeah.
you don't know is fine, is a fine answer too. It's just something I'm always curious about.
You know what's funny? This is an interesting question. I like this question. Um, I want to be great at what I do. Like I strive for not perfection because I've come to the conclusion that I cannot be perfect. But I want to be great and I want to love what I do. Not every day because that's
Mhm.
unrealistic. That's an unrealistic thing to have. Like when people say like um that they love their job every day, I'm like That's not true. There are definitely
Yeah.
days that you get up and you're like, "I don't want to come to work today," and it's okay, that's okay,
Mhm.
but I wanna be great at this right now, and this is, like, what I'm doing, like, as a boxer and as a trainer now. I just want to be the best that there is, and, like, I want to give my best self to other people. So,
Mhm.
I think that's what and I'm not saying that that's not, like, a crazy thing, like, I think a lot of people strive to be that, but I think that it takes a second, like, you have to figure out, like, if you love what you do first, because you're not gonna wanna be great at something that you hate. So,
Right, right.
yeah.
But that happens.
So,
I mean, it happens all the time, and people don't realize
yeah.
it, right, till they're in it, and then they go, "I don't even like this. I don't even wanna
Yeah,
be doing this, but I'm good at it."
yeah, and, like yeah, because I would say that I wanted to be a great teacher my whole entire life,
Mhm.
but, I mean, that's not that's I didn't love it, so there was
Yeah.
no need for me to, like, go out of my comfort zone or do any of these crazy things, like, I was just, like, barely making it every day,
Mhm.
but in this job, like, I wanna be great here, and I wanna be great in the ring, like, I want things out of this. I
Yeah.
want it. So, I don't know, I have, like, this really, like, desire to be great at everything.
That's exactly that face you just made and that
Yeah,
gesture, that's
that,
exactly what I'm
like
talking about. That's
yeah,
that,
yeah,
there's a 'cause there's a thing. There's a got and I think in anybody that pursues something that's like that non-prescribed path for women. Like for women, I think it's very much like, when you get married, when are you gonna buy a house, when you have a baby? Like those are
oh my
kind of the
gosh, I'm
things.
like
The marriage, house,
yeah,
baby. Like that's and if it's outside of that, people are like, "Oh, the blasphemy. Oh my God, what? You're a boxer? What? You're not
yeah,
married or what? You don't have kids?" It's like
it's
the
insane.
world's
I
gonna
I
come to an
remember
end.
telling people yeah, I remember telling people, I was like, "I don't want kids right now." Like, I said, right now," and I was
Mhm.
like, "I don't," because I was a teacher, I was like, "Are you kidding me? Are you ki I do
Right.
not want to bring this home." Um,
Yeah.
so I just yeah, that question still baffles my mind, but that's not the point of this conversation, but
Mhm.
I'm like, "I said right now."
Right.
But yeah, there's definitely a stigma with women that I yeah, it's really hard because it's like, when are you gonna do all these things? But I'm like, no one's asking the other half. So
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and these are just, and it's not like, I'm trying to get on the soapbox, but these are in having these conversations with women, I hear a lot of common themes come up and a lot of
yeah,
commonalities in the conversation, and I'm just always curious. And this is not meant to be, for those of you that are listening, this is not like a F the patriarchy, men suck, sentiment
no,
at
no, no,
all.
no,
I'm always interested in the disparities, just like
yeah,
things that women that and almost as because I think a lot of them we don't even realize, like they're just so systemic that we're just, it's just the norm and
yeah,
we don't really accept it until you butt up against the norm and get called out on it, and not necessarily in a negative way, but like just
yeah,
called out like what do you mean you want to get punched in the face, something like that. It takes
yeah,
something like that for you to realize that people kind of had you in a box and you didn't know you were in the
yeah,
box till you got out of the box, and then people are like, what do you mean you're going to be doing that? What do you mean? Aren't you
yeah.
afraid
Like,
of breaking your nose, or aren't you afraid of getting punched in the face, or what about, like all these other
yeah,
things come up.
that's one of my favorite questions as a boxer, as an athlete. They're like, "Aren't you afraid of this?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, but I have to overcome that fear. That's the whole point."
Right, right.
I mean,
That's
it's not
why
like
I'm
I'm
doing
actively
this.
going out and being like, "Hey, can somebody punch me in the face real quick?"
Yeah.
That's not my intent. It's just it's the sport that I love, and that's the sport that I
Mhm.
chose, and I'd rather do this than something else that might not work as well for me. So,
I love it.
yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for talking to us today. I really appreciate your time. And if people want to find you, if they want to
Yes.
work with you in some capacity, how would they go about doing that?
So I am on Facebook.
Mhm.
And I am also on Instagram. I actually don't even know my own Instagram name to be like, this is really bad.
Okay.
But yeah, my name is Jessica McFadden. You can find me on
Mhm.
Facebook, and my name is something with McFadden in it in the Instagram, but you can look up Jessica McFadden. But I am a coach here at Skill of Strength,
Skill of
which you can
strength.
also, yeah, you can also look up Skill of Strength if you want, if you're interested in this. But it, yeah, I really appreciate you having me here. I'm like,
Yeah, no
this is
worries.
really fun to
Great.
talk to you.
This was good. We had a good conversation. All right, I'm going to say
Yeah.
goodbye to everybody, and so stick around for a sec afterwards, though. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate it, and we'll see you back in